Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to TWIG 131. We've got myself, Joe Kim, Eric Kress, Mishka Katkoff, and our new regular co-host, Eric Seufert. Welcome, Eric. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing all right. So today we're going to cover 4 topics. First, Respawn reveals details on Apex Legends Mobile by gamesindustry.biz. Second, Fortnite made more than $9 billion in revenue in its first 2 years from The Verge. Third, Johanna Ferry is named new Call of Duty general manager. And finally, Activision released Q1 results. And just so everyone knows, this will be my last TWIG, at least for a while, unless I come back and guest host. But but it's great to be doing TWIG, and I'm absolutely going to be looking forward to new episodes from the Eric Squared.
I'm still in denial. I think you're going to be back next week.
All right. So should we roll into updates, or do you guys have anything else going on in your lives that we should be talking about?
Dude, San Francisco's moving down to yellow tier, which basically means I can go back and do my old man triathlon, the hot tub steam room sauna. So I'm looking forward to that today. As a matter of fact, after this podcast, I am going to go swim and do my little triathlon. So fuck yes, finally.
So good for King Newsom to let you do stuff. So, very happy for
he's going to get recalled, dude.
California.
Yeah, I can't wait.
They're going to vote him out, dude. Miss Jenner's going to be in the governor's said this place is going to hell in a handbasket. That's all I'm saying.
I know.
California.
Talking about going down, like Eric, you bought some Applovin shares, I think, at IPO price.
Wow. Way to call him out right on the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Hope you got a good deal.
we were talking about this before we started, and basically I don't know what happened, but Applovin evidently had all these extra shares rolling around, and they basically went out to almost everyone in industry saying, oh, I got a special deal for you of getting the shares at the IPO price of $80, right? And of course, now the stock's at 60, right? So anybody who bought those shares just lost their freaking ass, right? And so that's not a good look. You know, like they didn't go out to friends and family. They went out to partners and friends of the company and people that work with them and stuff. And so like everyone just got fucking burned, you know, like it definitely backfired on them, I think. And Eric happens to be one of the victims of the share price.
Yeah,
right?
It's a long-term hold.
I still can't believe that you would actually buy shares at a company that is literally an advertising company that's trading at 20 times revenue. It just seems completely contrarian to my understanding of your thought process around the world. So maybe I just don't know you well enough, and my assumptions are failing me.
You haven't read Mobile Dev Memo enough. It's Content Fortress.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of weird. Like Eric was just selling this to himself. It was like Content Fortress, App Store inside App Store. It was like going through everything and just like, buy. I'm gonna get it. This is only going up from here.
He also says that we're in a world in which valuation doesn't matter. So I guess that's the real thing.
No. All right, but I do think it has bounced back. The stock share has bounced back a little bit.
It has not.
No,
no. I think it's going to be down. It should be trading at 5 times revenue, right? Because they're a game company, right? So they should be trading at what Zynga trades at, and IDFA will probably do that to them.
Yeah,
but they are one of the more strategically well-positioned companies out there. So I mean,
dude, they're ad tech company, like with 85% game revenue, right?
It's going to change, but I'm bullish about the company, but not just at that valuation. But anyway,
they're a great company. I'm not saying they're not a great company, but they're not worth 20 times revenue. They're worth 5 times revenue. So that's a quarter. So the stock should be $15.
Perhaps. All right, let's talk about the update. So first one from my side, Lightheart raises $6.8 million in Series A funding, led by the Powerful Makers Fund. So Lightheart Entertainment or Lightheart Games, I'm not sure which one is it, but I'm sure that they are neighbors. Like literally their door is next to Savage's door. So shout out to the team. They're growing. Their first game did pretty well. And I'm hoping that their future games will do even better so that we're not neighbors anymore and they can move somewhere else. But anyways, yeah, a good company, good people, and I think we're going to have one of the founders in the podcast talk a little bit later. So they're focusing on hybrid casual games. I think they call them hypercore games, but they're hyper casual games, hybrid casual games.
Mr. Katkov, do you like have some kind of position in the Department of Commerce for Finland or something? Like, do you have to literally support and shill every motherfucking company that works that is in Finland? I'm not, enough's enough, dude. Great. There's lots of companies in Finland, All right. Next, moving on.
Good for them. Well, this one isn't. So Epic Games acquires Artstation to foster. And Artstation is, the way I understand Artstation, it's LinkedIn for artists. That's where all the portfolios are. That's how we do all the hiring for all the artists, always have been doing. I don't know what the strategic element here is to acquire Artstation. I think it has something to do. Actually, I don't want to even say anything, but I just don't see the strategic component here. There must be, and I just don't know it. So if somebody who's listening to this knows what the strategic element in acquiring Artstation is, please do let me know. And because, anyways, but we do know that after acquisition, they did two changes. First off, there was a 30% platform fee on Artstation. And of course, Epic is against the high platform fees, and they drop it from 30% to 12%. And so did good for the folks on Artstation. And secondly, they're talking about making Artstation Learning streaming video service free for Artstation subscribers for remainder of the year. Again, I don't know. These are good things that they're doing with Artstation. I just don't know why they acquired it. Another update: the Game Fund has raised $50 million to invest in games in US and Europe. The founders of the Games Fund are Maria Kochmola and Ilya Yeremeyev. They both worked at gaming investment division of Mail.ru Group. And they are clearly focused on Eastern Europe, so Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Baltic countries. So I would assume that their portfolio will be heavily Russian speaking. And that's good because there's not a lot of VCs in that area. And they have also acquired some really powerful LPs like the founders of Plarium. There's investment bank Arium. There's all kind of great LPs who are very knowledgeable in the market over there. So it will be interesting to see how this fund acquires more companies under them. But it's clear there's a lot of gaming companies in those Eastern European countries, and this will infuse much needed capital to grow them. A couple of more. Iron Source has released masterclasses. So if you go to is.com/levelup-academy, there's really good really good masterclass. I was
so I'm just laughing because I was just joking the other day about why is everything a masterclass now? You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's releasing a masterclass. I mean, aren't some of these just like primers or just like anyway. I
was actually going through these. Like these are quite legit. Like I haven't been looking at a lot of master. Like there's of course the masterclass app or the web page that has like really good masterclasses.
Yeah. I just think there should be a higher bar to qualify as a master class, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, all right, go on.
Well, if you're looking for a real master class, I run my mobile.
Here we go. Use the discount code Deconstructor of Fun.
No discount code. Modern mobile marketing at scale is my 8-hour course that you can enroll in. It's learn-mobile-marketing.com.
Okay. So two master classes, Mobile Dev Memo and Iron Source. And then finally, so on the newsletter, we had the job page from Jam City. So they're looking from people to LA, San Francisco, Toronto, San Diego, artists, product people, engineers, designers. So just go to jamcity.com/careers.
All right. I have a quick update, or actually a question. So I was talking to this guy, Simi from Israel. He's an investor. And he basically, the question he has is that why are we only at around 6 to 10% penetration for the opt-in message for apps out there? Why is this IDFA thing like slow rolling? Why isn't it just happening, right? Anybody have any idea?
Yeah, well, I have a theory, which is, I think, pretty substantiated, but So there's a bug. Basically, they have a bug in iOS 14.5 where there's a setting which is kind of the equivalent of the limit ad tracking setting that existed before, which is allow apps to request to track. So basically, if you turn this setting off, it should be on by default. But if you would turn it off, then apps can't even pop the pop-up. So like there's just no access to the IDFA. And that was grayed out for a lot of phones. So like you couldn't, it was turned off and you couldn't turn it on. Which is so basically like, that would just restrict even an app's ability to show you the pop-up. There would just be no access to the IDFA. And so so it was designed so that setting is not, can't be changed for like certain classes of users. So like if you're under 18, it was supposed to be turned off by default and grayed out. Or there's other qualifications for that too, but like there was just a bug in who qualified for that. And it was a pretty significant proportion of iPhone owners. So basically, like the setting was turned off, apps couldn't even show you the pop-up, and then you couldn't change it. And so I think what Apple's doing is it's fixing that bug. It's going to push that in an update, and then it'll start driving adoption. Because usually what they do is they'll send you a pop-up or they'll have the big red icon on your settings that kind of that drives a lot of people to update, and then that kind of drives that jump in the S curve. But they haven't done that yet. And I think it's because they're waiting to fix that bug before they do it.
Okay, so we'll probably see it in the next version of iOS, right? 14.5.1, and then maybe it'll roll out more aggressively.
And Eric Seaford, is there anything else with respect to IDFA deprecation rollout that we have learned or anything else that people should be aware of?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things like, first of all, Facebook basically just wasn't ready and enough so that they're not sending events to MMPs. They're doing it in a different level of aggregation. And so the MMPs haven't really been able to integrate yet. So that's just, first of all, just not working. Yeah. So anyway, I was just saying it's basically been a worst case scenario. It's like almost like a comedy of errors. Like basically everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Got it.
I really like Eric. He just says it how it is, All right. Look at the Apple, dude. Apple, just a bunch of beasts. Just beasts. Just dirty beasts. All right.
A few updates from me. First of all, shout out to Mike Sherrill, who did a really cool interview on Brett Novak's Creators at Work podcast, recounting MZ's founding story as one of the company's co-founders. So check it out. Hear about MZ's very interesting origin story. There are also a number of stories behind the story, which Mike didn't go into, but if you ever see me at a conference and buy me a drink, maybe I'll tell you guys some of those stories, which are pretty interesting. And in full disclosure, Mike is a good friend of one of my co-founders and investor in the company I founded. Second update, Sony announced they will integrate Discord chat into PlayStation. So this comes on the heels of rejecting an acquisition offer from Microsoft for $12 billion and part of Sony contributing to a $100 million investment round for Discord. And finally, since it's my last twig, I also want to pit my investment podcast, which is kind of like a fun project I do with Steve Pally from Pixelberry. Check it out, Super Stonk Brothers, not Super Stock Brothers, Stonk Brothers. And the latest topic that we covered was actually Skillz. So, and so if anyone from Skillz watches that, don't get mad. Sorry.
I listened to the first half of that. I think you guys are on to something. Like it's a criminal organization, they are in deep trouble, right? It's just a matter of time. And it's so funny. Like the CEO gets up there on CNBC like 3 or 4 days before his fucking earnings call in the quiet period saying everything's okay. Everything's okay. It's like, dude, the fact that you're on CNBC and saying everything's okay, everything's not okay. We know exactly what's happening. And then your friend from ARK Investments is the one that like pumped this thing up, like got everyone all hot and bothered on it, right? What the fuck? She doesn't know what she's doing investing in a company like this. Like, how is that even a thing that she's involved in this? She's like one of the biggest shareholders now.
Yeah, I think 12th or something, 10th or 12th.
This thing's going to zero.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, the valuation is challenged. I'll just put it out.
It's not a valuation issue. It's like they have no business model, right? They literally are. It is the definition of a Ponzi scheme in which they're basically recirculating money that they're giving to their audience and calculating that as revenue.
I didn't go that far, but I will say this: they've gotten some traction in terms of solitaire. I mean, it's possible right now. The the big question marks around their unitary economics, around their round tripping of revenue and how they treat revenue recognition for bonus cash and things like that. But anyway, if for you guys that are interested, watch watch the podcast. It's but yeah. I mean, I think there's always a, one of the things that Matthew Conterman says is, it's always about pricing risk. I just don't think it's properly priced. There's probably a right price for it, but the current price is
zero? Okay, moving on. Activision.
Activision just announced earnings and some interesting tidbits there. Call of Duty is just doing amazingly well across all platforms. MAU is up sequentially. In-game bookings were up 60% year over year. And season 3 is apparently sustaining the strong run rate. So really impressive results from Call of Duty. They have also Activision revealed that Call of Duty Mobile has crossed 500 million downloads, which compares to 100 million players in Warzone and 400 million paid sales for the traditional Call of Duty games as a whole. And Call of Duty Mobile also surpassed 1 billion in player spending since it released in October 2019. So just kind of like really amazing results there. I thought one interesting piece of information that came out of the earnings was that the gap is closing between their mobile and console share of revenue. So mobile is at roughly 45%, console is just under 50%. And that they had sort of diverged a little bit during COVID, but that mobile is sort of like now catching up, which to me is pretty interesting. And speaking of mobile, King segment revenue reached a new record, and it grew 22% year over year for the quarter, driven by strong growth for Candy Crush. King had 258 million MAUs in the first quarter, which is pretty impressive. King delivered 70% year over year growth in advertising net bookings in the first quarter, with increases across direct and direct brand advertisers and partner networks. So advertising, obviously an important revenue segment for King. We'll see how that changes with ATT. But that's been very important for them for a while. And then Crash Bandicoot, one kind of, I don't know, maybe I interpreted it as not being as positive as the rest of the news, but Crash Bandicoot was released on March 25th and only really had 30 million installs. Maybe I'm just being overly negative there, but that seems low to me. I would have figured, given the promotion and just the scale of King's network and also the brand involved, I would have expected more. Given that, we're on like a month and a half, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm being overly critical. What do other people think?
It's a fucking runner.
I think we've been really critical about Crash Bandicoot, right? So, and then the Bobby Kotick's his comp, right? Like, didn't he have his comp? Got rid of the transformational change clause, and so clearly, like, a lot of people have been upset by his compensation package. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't usually talk about the publicly traded names all that much, particularly on quarterly call stuff, but they are absolutely freaking destroying it right now with Call of Duty. It's like ridiculous, right? But there's like rumors out there that the next version of Call of Duty is not going to be ready, that they're going to have to maybe transition without a new game, which hasn't happened in the last 15, 20 years. I find that fucking hard to believe. Like, they will move heaven and earth and all, but they have like Sledgehammer, which basically lost all its people, running this new Call of Duty this year. Supposedly it's World War II. If that game doesn't come out and then we have a new great Battlefield game, like, their era could take a hit, and potentially. So I don't know. It's really kind of interesting times because they are just firing on all cylinders right now with Call of Duty, but everything else seems to be kind of, crumbling in the background, whether it's Blizzard, whether it's the studio org, even for Call of Duty. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them, but Bobby is just crushing it.
So for Call of Duty, is it back to 3x3 now? Is that what happened in terms of like the pipeline model? Okay.
Yeah. So but to be fair, next year is the hero SKU, right? Because it's going to be from Treyarch, right? But this year it looks like a really bad. At best, it's going to be a really terrible version of Call of Duty. Like last year's version was awful too. It was like,
didn't
well,
they
not
say
awful,
that
but it was like
all their internal studios are now making content for Call of Duty, or somehow are involved in Call of Duty development? Like even Toys for Bob is involved with Call of Duty. I mean, good for them.
Yeah, because the whole studio org is in disarray. So it's
all right.
They're executing despite themselves. But anyway, moving on. They're killing it.
All right. Well, this podcast is going to be all about shooters because we're going to talk about Respawn revealing details on Apex Legends Mobile. So the company said that the free-to-play title is designed specifically for mobile devices and will not feature cross-play. First regional beta in India and the Philippines. And there's actually gameplay already released on YouTube, so you can go and check it out, Apex Legends Mobile. And then Respawn previous attempt to bring Apex Legends to a new platform did actually not go so well. Last month, they launched the Nintendo Switch version, and the Metacritic average was 54%. But I don't know. I've played actually shooters on Switch. It doesn't matter what type of shooter you're playing; it's a horrible experience. So I think it's more on the platform. I've played multiple different type of shooters on Switch. It's just not a good platform for that, so I'll forgive
it's
them.
freaking dude, it is unplayable on the Switch. It is like, it's a ridiculous SKU. It should have never been made. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. It just damages the brand.
Yeah, well listen, there's Warframe on Switch is unplayable. There's the Vigor that I've been playing. It's really it's really difficult.
Fortnite's unplayable. Fortnite's a terrible experience on the Switch.
Yeah. By the way, it's Vigor, not Vigor.
Listen, I'm gonna call it Vigor. Like we have some Norway, some Vikings from Norway actually listening to this. You tell
us.
Like
voodoo. Every time you say voodoo, I want to just like throw up. Voodoo.
Oh, come on. All right, so let's talk about this. So last week we discussed Battlefield Mobile. It was done, as we said, done internally by Industrial Toys, and we discussed that the content might be a challenge because of the size of the internal organization compared to Call of Duty Mobile that is done out of China with the publishing team in LA. So totally different type of structure. Well, Apex, another shooter from EA, is actually done in China by NetEase, so a powerful partner. And it seems to have pretty much the same structure as with COD Mobile. So they got product and publishing in LA and development in China. I watched the videos. I haven't played this game. I watched the videos, and it feels that this game is done on the Badlanders engine. It looks and sounds, and I haven't played it, but it feels probably the same. And if you haven't played Badlanders, you can download it. It's out there. It's a third-person shooter, sort of an Escape from Tarkov version. It got 3 million installs and about 130,000 in revenue. So it was a novel experience, but was pretty much crushed by the market very quickly. And my personal opinion, as a person who plays a lot of shooters on mobile, it was a pretty poor experience. I liked the idea, but it didn't play well. And the fact that this game is, it looks like it sounds like Badlanders is a little bit worrisome in terms of core gameplay. But the good part might be that it plays on low-end devices. So I think this will be downloaded by a larger public. But yeah, like how does it fare on mobile? So the challenges are, as with Battlefield, like direct competition against Call of Duty, PUBG, Garena, Fortnite, the new PUBG, the new Battlefield. What worries me probably the most is like the visibly low production values versus the expectations that usually come with this type of an IP. I mean, after all, Apex is pretty big in the West, and it's a console PC game. So my expectations initially were the sort of a Call of Duty mobile type of an experience. And of course, the other challenge is how they can tap to the existing player base, since it's not cross-platform. So probably, will they play this? And how they can tap with lapsed players, because those are probably the ones that they're interested in. On the opportunities side, I mean, this, again, same as with Battlefield. So EA is not probably the best at performance marketing, but this being a big IP, it was the biggest launch before Call of Duty Mobile and before Warzone. So probably they're excellent at marketing these type of games. And I don't think the IDFA or ATT will have major impact on their ability to grow this game. Opportunities as well, that Apex has tons of content. They've done multiple seasons. Some seasons didn't do too well. Some seasons did really well. So they have all this content that can just, of course, refactored and re-optimized for mobile, but they can basically bring it in, and they have that gigantic team in China that can churn out content. So content shouldn't be a problem. And finally, it's a shooter, and shooter is we did an episode, so I released it on Monday with Facebook, and Facebook was talking about how big of a genre shooter is and how much it's growing with new audience coming in. And you know, in 2020, we got almost 40% growth year over year just in the West in terms of installs, 30% growth in revenue, and yeah, you know, it's 95% also of all shooter revenue is coming in from shooters with a realistic style, which Apex Legends has. So a lot of things fall together that feel correct in terms of product market fit. Again, the only thing I'm a little bit worried if it looks and feels and plays exactly like Badlanders, I wasn't impressed by that game. So, you know, considering that it came from NetEase, that should have resources to do whatever they want. So what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the first video that I see out there on the YouTube is basically, it doesn't look like a high fidelity game the way it should, the Apex game in particular, right? So I'm a little bit confused because I thought I would expect them to do a lot better in terms of building a game like that. Like I expected the same kind of like polish as something that Teamy would do, but we'll see what it comes out with. It's still not in beta or alpha that I can see in the Philippines or anything. So we'll see if it improves over time. We also have a buddy, right? A buddy of Deconstructor Fun. What's his name? He has a crazy name. What's his name?
Ducati.
Yeah, Ducati. wait, what's his last name though? Like the whole name is like
that is his last name.
What's his first name? What?
Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Yeah. Giovanni Ducati, dude. That's got to be the best fucking name.
Is
ever,
that public though? Should we be?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, of course it is. Anyway, he's working on it, so we'll see what happens. And then as for Battlefield, I think I said this the last time, is that like I'm a little bit worried. Like Industrial Choice is, I'm sure they're a great team, but ex-Destiny guys, but like, can they actually execute compared to someone like fucking NetEase and Teamy and all these other guys and build the right experience for that game? So yeah, we'll see. But the shooter category is getting really crowded. And then if you look at the stats on Fortnite, which we're going to get to, is like retention is horrible for these iOS and Android for a game like that. So
yeah, but Fortnite has to be taken with a grain of salt. Like a lot of research done on Fortnite mobile was that the players who play on console or PlayStation or Xbox were using the mobile SKU just to drop in and purchase something or just do like a quick task. So they weren't, you know, inherently playing on mobile. They would be playing on different device and then going back once a while on mobile. So they weren't using it as much.
All right. Isn't that what I just said? Like,
well,
it's not a very viable market on mobile.
Yeah. Again, it was just a different habit of using it because of the crossplay. That was at least the market research that I've seen. And you have Call of Duty Mobile that is doing extremely well. So that's
it's still a very small market. A lot of games chasing 4% of the overall market. So yeah. I think that's the risk of across all these games and the games that you guys are making.
All right, moving to the next article. So Fortnite made more than $9 billion in revenue in its first 2 years from The Verge. And so The Verge is reporting a number of details that have been publicly disclosed about Epic and Apple due to the current trial between the two companies. And if you guys haven't been seeing the tweets and hearing all the chatter about this, you should. A lot of great information has been coming out. But the biggest headline, however, has to do with Fortnite generating more than $9 billion in total for Epic in 2018 and 2019. That's gross. It also made more than $5.5 billion in profit from that 2-year period. In addition to linking a finance board presentation, as I mentioned, a huge amount of data was disclosed and a lot of interesting insights, especially for us as games industry people. Some of the highlights there was a slide in that presentation from their EBITDA puts and takes chart. It showed that in 2019, Epic spent $34 million in counter programming against Apex that year. Also that they overestimated their opportunity for esports by $154 million, and Rocket League contributed $72 million in net revenue that year as well. From some of the files shared by the Washington Post, we also see in other docs that revenue split by platform for Fortnite between 2018 and 2019 to some of the points that you were mentioning earlier, Eric Kress, that actually 46.8% of revenue came from PlayStation, 27.5% from Xbox, PC was 9.6%, and iOS 7%, and then Android 0.5%. And I think that's probably goes back to, remember what they did with their own store on Android?
Oh, right.
I think that really was a negative experience.
Actually, let me take a step back here for a second. What I'm really more surprised about this is how much is on PlayStation. Like almost 50% of the revenue is on one big platform, like a console, versus like PC. I thought PC would be a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
And then the iOS number is abysmal. That is abysmal, right? A game like that, of that scale, even if it's,
Android is abysmal.
Well, Android's, but that's for a reason, right? So, but like the fact that iOS, which was such a big lauded like launch with gazillion downloads and everyone talking about how great it's doing, like only 7% of revenue, that's not good. That's not good. But, and it goes back to the research that we did with Stan Kwan a while back, is that fucking iOS is a gateway drug, right? And so you get in on iOS and you're like, fuck this sucks. I'm going to go play on the PlayStation, right? Because it's fucking 100 times better experience, right? And so I think these numbers kind of prove that out even more extreme. But again, I
think that there is a little bit of a synergistic effect too when you see like the gameplay mode by kids. So, you might have 3 kids going over to Bobby's house who's playing on the PlayStation, but they're playing on their tablets that they bring.
I get you keep saying that, but obviously, it doesn't look good, right? And the PC thing is still kind of like vexing to me. I don't know why. I think, given the Epic launcher and how big that was and how many people are interfacing with that, like I'm a little bit surprised that the console revenue is so much significantly better.
The other interesting thing too is that for anyone who follows the Farlight 84 Twitter channel, they ran a survey in terms of where their audience would like to see Farlight 84, and it's the exact opposite of this, right? Android and then PlayStation was the smallest, so that was kind of interesting.
Well, but you also you left out Switch, right? So Switch is 50% more revenue than PC, right? Switch.
No,
Switch is like,
are you joking?
No. Look, I mean, Switch was 40 million against 82 by Xbox, 148 by PlayStation. So in terms of percentages, it's just half of Xbox. So it's like 14% Switch.
Oh, right. Sorry, that's crazy.
So maybe not so terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
and these were average numbers, because in the average numbers, so the average numbers for gross revenues for Fortnite from the court documents per month. So monthly average gross revenue was PlayStation 150, Xbox 80, Switch, half of the Xbox 40, PC was about 30, iOS was 23, but you have to account that this is an average, and the game went out of the iOS store in August, so half the year. Like, did they calculate it till then, or was it just a whole year and an average of that? So is it divided by 12 or divided by 7? That's a question mark. And then Android, 2 million. Like, it's insane. Like, where's the Android revenue? Like, there's no Android revenue.
Another couple of interesting data points in terms of retention for Fortnite. So D1730 retention metrics of 41%, 13%, 6%, and then on Android 35%, D1 11%, D7 4%, D30, and then also they show D180 RP numbers of $3.59 for iOS, $1.13 for Android, $11.62 for PC, and over $25 for Xbox and PlayStation. And Eric Seifert, I know you've been following the trial and looking at some of this data. Any other interesting data points we should be aware of from the trial?
Well, I mean, I think part of the motivation for this trial was just to get a lot of this info out here, right? Because I mean, they knew all this stuff would go public in Discovery, all the Discovery documents would go out. And so you're just getting an amazing level of insight into a very secretive company, right? Like, there's some emails I was just looking at today that talk about their kind of calculus around doing ads in the App Store, and talking about how, well, if developers are just basically manipulating App Store rankings or chart rankings anyway, we should be making money from that, right? If they're just using these, this was back in the day when you could use like bots to drive installs. But if they're just using bots, why don't we just sell them those positions instead of, because people don't really they don't use the chart position as a discovery mechanic anyway. Part of me thinks that like Epic just, especially when you look at the revenue numbers, right? Like Android and iOS combined are about the same as PC, right? And so like how meaningful, and which is, you know, much, much lower than even Switch and then Xbox and PlayStation. So like, let's just blow up Apple's, you know, relationships. Let's get all these special deals out in the open, and let all of their partners start complaining. And maybe that gets us, you know, because I don't think the lawsuit's going to be successful in terms of changing Apple's, you know, kind of status with respect to the App Store. But like maybe just if it angers all of the, you know, development community plus a lot of their partners, maybe that does eventually force their hand a little bit. But it's just like an amazing treasure trove of data, right? Like you had the origin of the no app stores and the App Store rule was that Big Fish published a game subscription app, and Apple had no like you know, concrete rule against that, but they just booted it out, and then they
crazy.
You know, sort of like made that a rule. So there's just a lot of interesting insight, you know, from Apple, which you don't normally get, you know, to peer behind the curtain there.
Yeah, I was well, sorry, I was looking at the retention numbers were actually telling as well. That chart was actually really interesting. I thought anyway, was that, you know, day 30 is like 4% for Android and PC and 6% for iOS versus 16% day 30 for PS4. That's crazy. And Xbox One was trailing. I don't really get that as much. And then,
but look at Switch. Look at Switch day 30.
Yeah. Okay, the Switch data is contrarian to my negative Nelly, but the game sucks on Switch. I played it; it's terrible. These kids have nothing else to play on. That's kind of what the message is. It seems, but anyway, what do I know?
We need to make our game.
If you put your game on Switch, I am going to shoot both of you. Okay, that's a stupid idea. All right,
definitely. Switch, I'm coming for you.
But anyway, I don't know. It is a treasure trove of data that we haven't seen before. I mean, they had the full P&Ls in there. They had email correspondence. Like, I mean, you could spend days. You could download the whole freaking thing and spend days like looking through it. It was really interesting and eye opening.
Go ahead.
No, I said one of my clients is an investor, and he didn't have this data. He's invested in the company. He had never seen any of this stuff. So it is not easy to find. So. Very cool.
One of my favorite exchanges was Tim Sweeney emailed, I think Steve Jobs, and was like, hey, you know, this is like a long time ago. Obviously, he was complaining about, you know, Apple's take rate and saying, you know, Apple was such an inspirational company. Can't believe that you're, you know, kind of monopolizing access to the App Store in this way. And it's bad for devs. It's bad for consumers. And this long kind of like, you know, ranty soapbox email. And then I think Steve Jobs just responded to some other people on the thread and was like, was this the guy that came to our developer summit? Like he didn't even know Tim Sweeney was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Jobs was known as being super ruthless about stuff like that. Like any type of leaks about products or anything, like he would call people specifically, like call them out and say, we're going to put you out of business if you don't shut the fuck up about our new iPads or whatever, all that kind of thing. So anyway, he was ruthless. He's ruthless. I don't know what else, anything else about, wasn't there some like profitability stat that they had there that made Apple look really bad, you know, in terms of how much money they're making on the App Store?
Yeah. 78% operating margin with the App Store. It's like free money.
Yeah, they don't even. You can't even justify the 30% when you're making 78% margin. So, and it was something like, oh yeah, we have engineers that work on this. I'm like, dude, how many engineers fucking work on the store? Give me a break, right? But the other thing that, to your point earlier, Eric Seifert, the smart Eric, is that the PR hit on this will be bad enough, and then we're already seeing things happen in Europe that is more likely to pass and something to happen quickly and more strongly than it would be in the US, because US is like much more notoriously challenging to get any of this shit done. So that may be the ultimate thing, is that something happens in Europe that then will be adopted in the US, right? Similar to the what were those rules that were released a few years ago? Anyway,
GDPR.
So anyway, yeah, well, we'll see if that starts to take form. Because again, I think we said this in the podcast before, is that Spotify and any music services and those type of services have a case, right? Because they're using their monopolistic power to have unfair advantage in the marketplace. And you may not be able to prove that in the US, but you can certainly do that in Europe, right? In certain countries in Europe. So we'll see.
Hey guys, I'll take this moment. I got to bail. I got a hard stop, and I gotta hop on to the next one before we jump into the next topic.
All right,
go ahead.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
All right.
All right. The last story. This is just a quick rant because I really have no effing idea what is going on over at Activision right now, because besides the Blizzard stuff, like there is lots of drama going on the Call of Duty side, despite all the success they're having. Sledgehammer, they let go of their founders, the going from one engine to another, the Treyarch and Infinity Ward, like that's been big drama, right? And so even though they are like firing on all cylinders and killing it, there's shit that's going on that I can't understand exactly what's happening. So there's this article about this woman, Johanna, who is the new GM of a Call of Duty franchise, and she's replacing this guy named Byron Beed, who I don't know either of these people clearly. So, but she will oversee this like multi-billion-dollar IP. It's like the only thing that is going well for Activision right now. King is actually doing okay too, I suppose. But she comes from being the commissioner of the esports league for Overwatch and Call of Duty, which obviously did not do very well. So the track record of success is not quite there, right? But what I really want to do is compare the backgrounds of these two people that are supposedly leading the charge of Call of Duty. So Byron had 20 years at Activision, 6 years as a brand manager, 3 years as product manager of Call of Duty, VP of strategy for the Call of Duty franchise for 2 years. He was a senior VP of Destiny for 5 years, and the EVP and GM of Call of Duty for 2 years. So basically he had 20 years of experience leading shooters, right? That was his whole MO, right? And 10 years on Call of Duty itself, like understanding the franchise, understanding the players, the developers, etc. Right? Johanna, on the other hand, had 11 years with the NFL and 12 months as Call of Duty commissioner, right? And now she is the GM of all of Call of Duty. I mean, what the fuck is going on at Activision? This makes no sense. It is not possible to get a less qualified person to put in such a position. It's like the biggest IP in video games, and we're talking about a woman that has had less than like a year's worth of experience on Call of Duty. It's like, it makes no sense. I think Bobby is going nuts or something. Like something is happening out there. I don't. So what the problem with this is that if she's going to be the GM, then why? Then the heads of Sledgehammer, the heads of Treyarch, the heads of Infinity Ward have to interface with her. Like they're going to have to. But how can they take her seriously when they don't even? She's never actually worked in the games business. Like she has no development experience. She has no product management experience. And then there's other people within the organizations that are getting elevated too. This guy, Dennis Durkin, who was a CFO, I worked with him at Alex Brown way back when, my first job out of college. The guy's the nicest guy in the world. I think he's the only nice guy in the entire C-suite at Activision. And yet they're replacing him with this guy named Armin Zerza, right? Who literally, I think, is the most hated executive in video games that I've heard of. And so now he's becoming the chief commercial officer of Activision Blizzard, right? I don't know what is going on. Like all the success that they're having with Call of Duty is not predicated on the fact that they're hiring the right people that people like, right? This is just like, it is like the complete opposite of what you would expect. The results are not matching the operations. And with this new person in charge of Call of Duty, which still blows my mind, I really would love someone to explain to me how that is even a possible thing.
Well, maybe they have so much experience in like everybody thinks the same way in the Call of Duty franchise organization, and she's bringing a new look because the franchise has grown so tremendously over the last couple of years. So she's able to look at the market in a little bit a different way and make it more accessible. Because if you consider that everybody in your organization has been, Call of Duty for the last 20 years, like how can they bring that to new audience? And then when you bring somebody who's still super senior in the company and well connected, like she may be able to open up the eyes like, hey, we have all these new players. Like I'm playing Call of Duty for the first time for real. And that came in through the mobile. Like I knew Call of Duty since forever. I've tried it, but I never really played it. So I'm part of that new audience. And I think the new audience is massive when it comes to Call of Duty. Or
maybe they're betting that esports is going to, since she was commissioner of esports, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like esports is I don't know. I need to get caught up on what's happening with esports, but it doesn't seem like it.
I get nothing happening at esports. Esports is done.
I get the point, Eric. I get the point, but sometimes, it depends. It depends how strong their the leadership team in Call of Duty is. Like, I assume that everybody there is like Byron, like everybody is just a monster and have been doing this forever. And this is just a new look, a new way of thinking regarding the new audience. Because, the other way is to do what, no offense. I quit playing League of Legends on the mobile because it was just so punishing. And it brought that same PC experience where, I was being punished for AFKing, like being banned on my account. And it was just a mobile game. And I assume that those type of decisions happen when you're in an organization where everybody has been playing League for the last 10 years. And if somebody says like, hey, should we ban player? Like, nobody would even bring that as a discussion point of banning players out of their first session. If they accidentally, disconnect or AFK, we're going to close their account and tell them they're pieces of shit because this is League of Legends and you're ruining the experience for other players in your team. But if you bring new people who are kind of looking at the different platform, new players, they might be, asking a lot of good why questions.
Okay, but I guess back to the point. My point is that Byron has been GM for a while, but he's been responsible for the success of this game over the last 20 years. I mean, partially responsible. Obviously not. He's not. Obviously,
was he replaced or did he?
Yeah, he was replaced.
Oh,
he's replaced. I don't know where he's going. It's like he was.
But then this could be more political, right? This might be like
yes. Well, that's the whole point.
Like the studio heads may not like him, and they're like, okay, we're gonna overthrow him and put in somebody else.
Oh, no.
Has less power and that we can just kind of run over. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you, okay. It could be. I need to know this. I need to know. So if anybody has any insights here, please reach out because this is just blowing my mind, right? Byron, he may be a big jerk. I have no idea, but the guy is like an OG, right? Yeah. And so like,
and sometimes some of these high level execs, they don't really do much. You know what I'm saying?
You're the general manager of $1 billion.
If you're a studio head and you want to be able to run over somebody or speak in development language and not have them understand, you're being someone who doesn't have that background.
Oh, see, I was thinking of the flip side. I feel like
it could. I think to be fair, we're just speculating. It could be Mishka's point too that they're looking for a fresh perspective. Maybe they believe in esports in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, and what my imagine is I just think Bobby is just basically plucking people from one place and putting them other places without any type of idea what ramifications that will be on the overall organization, right? Yeah. That's kind of my thought process. But like, like this guy, whatever his name is, the Armin guy, like I think he was like his chief of staff or something. The guy, he just got drop shipped into Blizzard and wreaked freaking havoc for years, right? And then now he's back up to the corporate offices and freaking in LA, like now he's like, I don't know, chief fucking commercial officer, whatever the fuck that means. But he's replacing Dennis as the CFO.
But this happens all the time too, right? Where this guy is Bobby's buddy. And even if they have no relevant background, and this happens in a lot of companies, it's like, I trust this person, so I'm going to put them in charge of this group.
Yeah, and that
no relevant experience.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what I'm pointing out. But I think within creative organizations, that does not work. That ends up backfiring big time.
Now, I'll give you a few good examples after we end this podcast.
No, but Armin is part of the reason that everyone left at Blizzard is kind of my understanding. I worry about Activision's and Blizzard's future right at this point. This seems scary as hell.
Okay, so on that positive note, and the way to end my career here, making more enemies.
Oh my God.
I think that's it for this week. See you all later, or you guys will see them all later next week.
Yeah. We'll see you back. We'll see you again.
Yeah, I'll come back to pimp something. So,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.